Hello YouTube, Bane666 here. Let's continue as Norcal Corner and Russian Deadpool discuss male genital mutilation.
And that you support genital mutilation of newborns. I've never said anything of the sort. In fact, I think this is actually something I've actually never really talked about.
No, but as we saw way back in episode 1 in this series, you claimed that men's rights issues are, in fact, red herrings.
And the reason why I don't like to talk about this is because this is a really touchy sort of, really an issue I really don't like to get into. But, much the same how we are offended by genital mutilation, such as females, especially within the Arab world. I've actually grown more to be against. In fact, I am now. I used to not even have really much of an opinion on this. I used to actually just kind of be like, well, if you want to get your kids circumcised, get them circumcised. If you don't, then don't. But now I find it to be an issue where I find it sickening. And personally, I think that if you want to get circumcised when you're an adult, once you're old enough to make that decision, go ahead. I view it like body piercings or tattooing. It's basically body modification at that point.
Wow, now you start to argue like an MRA. Funny that, isn't it? Not really a red herring, is it?
But I think that at that age, when they're a newborn, they're not given that choice, and this is where it falls into an issue where with some people who want to claim. Who are pro-life or pro-choice and blah blah blah, and people will call me a hypocrite for saying this, even though I don't believe that it has anything to fucking do with it. But right down straight to the point, what my view on the whole idea of circumcision of men, I don't support it. I personally view the idea that you trying to have your child circumcised when they're newborn, I think is kind of in a way a form of child abuse.
And I would agree with you 100%. What a shame it's not outlawed, huh?
I think it really takes away from a lot of that because, they should at least be allowed to wait until they're 18 to decide whether or not they want to basically get circumcised, or whether they want, or if they just want to leave their shit alone.
And once again, I would agree 100%, which brings up a very interesting point. Because presently in England, they are talking about banning adult women from getting genital piercings or labiaplasty, because it's considered a form of genital mutilation. So they're willing to stop adult women getting these procedures done out of their own free will, yet they're perfectly okay with newborn baby boys having no say or choice. Yeah, do you think maybe that's a little bit of a double standard? Do you think maybe we should be bringing attention to that? Just a thought.
Because again, I think that it should be much like the idea of tattooing and body piercing and any body modification. I think it at that point, it should. I think that's something that I believe circumcision and that sort of crap should be left to them when they're an adult, not something that you force upon them at a young age. So, yeah, that's my personal thing. Now, as far as other forms of, I don't know if that's exactly what you meant by genital mutilation, but
It is indeed exactly what I meant by genital mutilation, and it's obviously something that we agree on, which is why I find it strange that you're so willing to dismiss the men's rights movement without even considering the things that we fight for.
That's what it seems like you're implying. If not, then please help clarify that for me in a future comment. But yeah, that's where I stand. So you say you say that I support that. I quite the contrary.
So what you're saying is it's not a red herring then?
Actually am against circumcision. And because that's what MRAs like myself are fighting against. Well, that's good for you. I wouldn't really then consider you much of I wouldn't consider you then a men's rights person on that exactly. I would consider, in fact, if anything, you are actually one of the fair amounts of people I would actually say are more revolutionary, at least more moderate in that sense, more socially liberal on this sort of issue, where, because and much like some of the rad femmes like Anita Sarkeesian, a lot of men's rights movement people come off as very social justice warrior type.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say to that. Yeah. Next.
And that's why, and so in some ways I kind of considered, much like how rad femmes are, I don't really think that men's rights movements groups are in some cases, nor should be taken seriously. But there are some individuals like yourself who I actually am willing to talk to, and I'm actually kind of more able to engage in more of a debate with, because you actually do kind of fall into that small group of them that actually is rational, reasonable, and makes a relatively good argument.
Well, I would actually argue that the vast majority of MRAs fall into that category. I don't know which MRAs you've been talking to. You don't give any examples. So it's quite possible that the people you're referring to aren't even MRAs. This is a common thing that happens. People just assume that if someone is anti-feminist, or a pickup artist, or part of the manosphere, or even just a troll, or someone who disagrees with someone else, that they are automatically an MRA, which is not the case. To be a men's rights activist, you actually have to be an activist fighting for the rights of men, and like circumcision, for example, the right to bodily integrity. So if you've been talking to people who haven't been fighting for those things, then it's pretty much a safe bet that you haven't been talking to MRAs, and I would suggest that you actually do so before forming an opinion. And now, Russian Deadpool.
Good. We're against circumcision as well, be it male or female, first world or not. And bodily integrity, yes, very important. The ability to decide whether or not a woman can terminate her pregnancy. These rights are constantly under attack in the West and non-existent in other places. Most other places. It's all good points. We agree. Or are you only concerned with males? Because you're only a men's rights activist. You don't care about the other half of humanity. Is that correct?
I actually find this a very strange argument. Considering in the video that Russian Deadpool is replying to, I clearly stated, I think numerous times, if I remember correctly, that I'm a gender egalitarian, and I'm also a supporter of women's rights. So it's a strange argument to make that because I'm trying to bring attention to men's rights, which are neglected in the mainstream, and a lot of the issues are just unknown by the general public. Because I'm trying to bring attention to that somehow makes me against the rights of women, or I don't care about the rights of women. That's a very, very strange argument to make. I mean, using that logic, the NAACP, because they're fighting for the rights of African Americans, and they're not fighting for the rights of gays or women or Jews, using your logic, that would make them misogynistic, homophobic, and Holocaust supporters. Which is simply not reality, is it? Very strange argument to make.
Did you know that there is absolutely no national medical society in the entire world that recommends routine infant circumcision? That's right. No national medical society in the world believes that infants should be circumcised. So why is it done? Some traditions go back so far that it is hard to know. Sometimes because the father is circumcised, and the parents want the son to look like the father. Some parents think that all little boys look this way, and they don't want their son to look different. Sometimes it's because the doctor recommends it, and that may have to do with his fee for the procedure. Circumcision is the act of one person cutting off half of the normal skin of another person's penis. To do this to an infant is an atrocity, a savage, brutal act. Why do I use such a strong term? Circumcision causes permanent damage. No one has the right to do this unnecessary procedure on an unconsenting patient. Those who perform circumcisions claim that there are few complications. The truth is that every single case has complications. The victim is left without half of the normal skin on his normal penis. This unique nerve-laden tissue may appear tiny on an infant, but in a normal adult it has the area of a postcard and some thickness. Do parents really want to reduce the size of their son's penis without his consent? There are literally scores of other complications that can and do occur. Callousing of the head of the penis occurs in men who have been deprived of their protective foreskins. Meatal stenosis, or narrowing of the outlet, occurs in most of those who have been circumcised as children and often requires surgical correction. In addition, many men are deeply angry about their loss, imposed on them without their consent. In 2012, the German High Court in Cologne ruled that circumcision is assault. An assault is, according to law, a violent attempt to hurt another. Assault is a criminal offense. Doctors who perform circumcisions are violating all the codes that they are supposed to live by. They violate the major tenet of medicine: first, do no harm. They violate 8 of the 9 principles of the American Medical Association Code of Ethics. They violate the Golden Rule: do unto others as you would that others would do to you. It is fair to say that no doctor would want this done to him or her without consent. Doctors are mutilating normal children, often at the request of parents. These violations are, of course, why no medical society recommends this procedure, yet doctors do it daily in America. When Dr. Benjamin Spock, who wrote the best-selling book Baby and Child Care, decided in 1975 that he was wrong to promote circumcisions and recommended against it, human rights advocates considered him a hero